All right. Anybody want to do any kind of role playing with Brian where you're selling a business and Brian, you're going to ask him all the questions. You're the broker.
So Brian, I just out of my experience, my family's in the trucking business, so I have some experience restructuring the family business logistics company. So why don't we just say I'm a trucking company?
Sounds good. Ring.
Okay, hello.
Hello, Junior.
Who's speaking?
This is Brian Dunn over at Hedgestone. You'd sent over a note saying that you were looking to potentially sell XYZ trucking.
Yeah, I somebody had called me a few days back, and I was thinking about it. I'm not, I don't know. I'm so busy. I'm being pulled in a million different directions.
Oh, where are you located right now?
Well, we're based out of Long Island, Kings Park.
What type of trucking do you do? Are you asset based or do you lease your trucks?
No, we own trucks. We also have a brokerage. We kind of do both.
Oh, very cool. How many trucks do you guys have?
Trucks are killing me though. Right now we have 8 trucks, and I've been trying to downsize.
Do you have are your drivers W-2s?
They are W-2, yes.
What is your typical run? What are your lanes?
Typically New York to Florida, sometimes out to California.
Dry goods or?
Cars.
Trucking cars?
Yeah, we ship cars or car hauler.
Oh, very, very cool. They're big rigs that you guys are running. What do you do on the back end of it? Are you taking something back from Florida back to New York, or is it a one-way trip?
No, we try to get a backhaul as much as we can. I'm not one for deadheading, so we try to get a backhaul. But it's just it's a crazy environment. There's I can't imagine anybody really wanting to buy the business. We're getting squeezed on all different ends. So I don't even know how realistic this is, to be honest with you, Brian.
The last 12 months have been an absolute challenge for trucking. I mean, you saw what happened with Yellow a couple months back. I mean, there's definitely been a squeeze over the last 12 months. But we've also seen that there's been some bottoming since like late June into July. And from one of other trucking companies I'm working with have had a pretty decent August. So it does look like we've seen a bit of a turn on it. Have you guys seen the same thing?
Yeah, it's cyclical. This time of year is usually a slow period. So I can't say, I can't really say the same. But, the spring, we had a few good months. We didn't break any records, but, the demand is still there. It's just we're getting squeezed. Margins are getting squeezed. Our expenses go up. Insurance is just insane. Operating a business here in New York is not the same as it was 20 years ago. So that's the only reason why I entertained your guys' call the other day. But like I said, I'm at this point, I'm downsizing the trucks. And for me, I'm not sure, what I'm going to be able to get for this business. But for me, I'd rather just get rid of my trucks, keep my brokerage, and I can, potentially keep my cash flow if, worst comes to worst.
Tell me about the brokerage.
Well, we have outside relationships with other trucking companies like ours that we've developed over the years. So, when we're overwhelmed or when we can't do a load, we're able to broker things to people that we know in the business. As time has gone on, we've downsized trucks and we've focused more on building those relationships so that we have a little bit more flexibility.
What's the revenue on the brokerage side for 23 and for 22?
So revenue is about 1.5 on the brokerage side.
What are you netting on the brokerage side? Are you renting out trailers as well, or are you just filling in the loads?
No, we can't. It's a good question. Maybe that's possible in other logistics, but in car hauling, the trailer is attached to the cab, so you can't really do that. So we're just brokering loads. Has nothing to do with our equipment. 5 or 10%, is probably net on the brokerage side, and on the trucking side, there's red months. There's months that we have I'm lucky if I can average 5% a year on the trucking side. I'm lucky.
What was your top line on the trucking?
Trucking was $4 million.
You're having the problem that lots of other entities are having right now. I mean, you're large enough that you're squeaking by, but at the same time you have tons and tons of expenses, and with fuel and insurance squeezing you, you're gonna have some red months and some slight green months and alternating in between.
Right.
You definitely fit in better as a tuck-in for somebody else who already has the infrastructure and can layer you guys into it. So although you guys aren't making a ton, adding $4 million in revenue to somebody who already has the infrastructure, instead of having a bottom line of a couple $100,000, you could potentially add that $4 million in an incremental revenue could potentially add $600,000 to $800,000 in bottom line, since their fixed costs are already existing, and we'd just be tucking you in. So I mean, there's definitely value to what you have as it is, and probably more value to a strategic. You're right, if you're going to go out there and try to sell yourselves to a Joe Blow independent and who's going to run the same operation, the value is going to be the asset of the trucks, and there's not going to be a ton more. But if we pitch you to a strategic, then there might be some room, so it'd be a win-win on both sides.
I mean, it sounds like a good idea. You're talking over. I have no idea what you mean by strategic tuck-ins. Like, I don't know any of this stuff, man. I'm a truck driver, so I don't know, what kind of experience you have with. It sounds like you've maybe dealt with some people, but if you can send me some information, I'll think about it.
Sure, and honestly, all I meant by a strategic is a larger trucking company. So and a tuck-in, meaning that they already have since they're a larger trucking company already, all the admin, all the dispatch, they're going to get better insurance rates, they're going to have better fuel charges, fuel rates. If they're currently running 100 trucks and we add in another 8 to them, their infrastructure is already existing for the 100, and they're going to have cost savings that will then be applied to your trucks that are added in, which is why their 8 trucks to them is more valuable.
Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. I guess, the other part of it is, what happens to my employees. I've never worked for anybody in my life. My whole life I've been self-employed. So I've thought about potentially, what am I supposed to do? Am I gonna now have to work for a guy if I sell the business? So there's a lot of moving parts, I guess, and it's probably not a good idea to go through everything here on this phone call. My phone's ringing off the hook.
Let me get some financials from you. Let me analyze them. Let me put them in and how they would potentially look inside of like we mentioned, inside a larger entity, and come back to you with a valuation that could potentially make sense.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Being more conversational there. There was no, you don't need to have close on the first call, but that was much better being just conversational with Junior. So Junior, thanks.
Yeah, good job, Brian. Especially showing that the industry, that you have knowledge in it, which I didn't know that could potentially a $4 million revenue company in trucking could be on the red. That's crazy. 5% margins. That's really tight for truck.